In 1972, a man walked onto BBC television, stood in front of a Botticelli, and cut her face out with a razor blade. It wasn't vandalism, it was a demonstration. The painting was a copy, and Berger argued the copy changed everything. Once an image can be reproduced, it detaches from its meaning, travels anywhere, and sells you things, including a version of yourself. Berger died in 2017. He never held a smartphone. Yet Ways of Seeing reads like a user manual for the device in your pocket. This is the story of how one television series predicted the way 2 billion people would learn to watch themselves. Seeing comes before words. A child looks before it speaks, so looking feels natural. It isn't. Every act of looking is trained by culture, by class, by power. We see not the thing itself, but its relation to us. A painting that lived in one chapel now appears everywhere, and whoever controls the copy controls the meaning. Berger called it publicity, images that breed dissatisfaction, then sell the remedy, an envied future self, glamour. Episode 2 is the one people remember. Is the one people European nude need, centuries of European nude painting and linen. Berger noticed the women rarely do anything. They recline, they display, and crucially, they watch themselves being watched. Often a mirror sits inside the frame. The painter could call her vain for the very looking he was doing. 7 words held the whole argument. Men act and women appear, compressed exact, impossible to unhear once you've heard it. But the deeper cut runs further. A woman is trained to carry a surveyor inside her own head. She walks, she cries, she works, and simultaneously watches herself doing it, appraising how she looks while she does. The watcher and the watched fused into a single person, centuries before anyone owned a camera. Read in 1972, it critiques oil painting. Read today, it describes anyone framing a selfie. Berger saw the split clearly. He just couldn't see the device that would put a mirror in every pocket. Berger opened a door. For 50 years, theorists have walked through it, each one naming a different watcher. 3 years later, film theorist Laura Mulvey named it. Classic Hollywood builds its camera around a presumed male spectator. Men drive the story. Women are styled to be looked at. The camera itself, she argued, takes a side. Then bell hooks asked the question Mulvey hadn't. Who is allowed to look back at all? For Black audiences, staring had historically been punished, so looking critically became an act of defiance. She called it the oppositional gaze, the refusal to consume images as given, the insistence on interrogating them. Behind it all sits Michel Foucault, with the most unsettling idea of the lot, his panopticon. A prison designed so inmates never know when they're watched. It produces people who behave as if watched always. The guard becomes unnecessary. You install him inside your own head, permanently, without being asked. Put these together and you get the sociological gaze. Not what am I seeing, but who taught me to see this way. Every image arrives with an invisible instruction manual. The sociological gaze is learning to read it. Now the watcher changed again. This time it isn't human. Shoshana Zuboff calls the New Deal surveillance capitalism and describes it in one move. Everything you do online becomes raw material. Your glances, what you linger on, what you almost posted, all of it harvested. Berger's publicity image wanted you envious. Zuboff's machine wants you legible, predictable, and endlessly quietly profitable. You're no longer just the viewer of the ad. You're not even the product anymore. You're the mine. Sociologist Nathan Jurgenson adds the intimate half. Even with the phone in your pocket, you experience life as a potential image. The sunset registers as a post before it registers as a sunset. Berger's internal surveyor has been democratized. Everyone carries one now, and it speaks fluently in metrics, in likes, in the language of performance. And the machine doing the watching is never neutral. Researcher Buolamwini sat before a system that could not see her face. It saw her only once. She put on a white mask. She called it the coded gaze. The biases of the people who build these systems, baked silently into how machines learn to see at all. Berger warned that whoever controls reproduction controls meaning. Today, ranking systems decide which images exist for you at all. So run Berger's argument one more time, at today's frame rate. Oil painting flattered its owners, canvases rendered to be envied. Look at a feed. The flat lay, the hotel balcony, the body at golden hour. Same genre, the frame is just smaller now. He said glamour is the state of being envied, manufactured by publicity. We built an economy on it and called it influence. With dashboards to measure the envy in real time, down to the like, down to the hour. He said a woman turns herself into an object of vision. The front-facing camera made that a global default setting. Then attached a number to it, visible to everyone, updating every time you check. One thing did change, and it's the twist Berger never called. The surveyor is no longer only in your head, it's in the server. Here's the thing about ways of seeing, though. It was never a lament. It was an invitation. Berger ends the series by turning to camera, telling the audience to be skeptical of everything they've just watched, including him. That's Bell Hook's oppositional gaze offered as a gift. You are allowed to look back. To ask of every image, this one included, who made this? What does it want from me? And who profits from my looking? That's the sociological gaze, in one single move. It won't log you off, but it breaks the spell of naturalness. The illusion that the feed simply is, the same way Berger broke the spell of the gallery, decades before you were watching. Seeing comes before words, but seeing clearly, that has to be learned, slowly, and on purpose. In 1972, a man cut a painting in half to show you how looking works. 50 years later, the cut runs through your own pocket, waiting for someone to notice the blade. If this changed how you'll look at your feed tonight, the next essay goes deeper. How the sociological gaze learned to look back. You know where the button is, and now you know exactly why it's placed there. Seeing comes before words. Looking back is the part nobody taught you, until now. If this changed how you will look at your feed tonight, like and subscribe. Now you know exactly why the button is placed there.